Welcome to Immersive Attractions. Today we are taking you to Plopsaland Deutschland for a very special dark ride check, because this time it's also our first time experience. We're talking about the brand new Smurfs Darkride, which replaces the former Burg Falkenstein. And to really understand our expectations, we have to go back a bit. The former holiday park had a very unique charm. It offered the original attractions that weren't tied to big IPs. Since the park was taken over by Plopsa, things have clearly shifted. Plopsa focuses heavily on well-known characters like Vicky or Maya the Bee. And while that works for many guests, we, and probably quite a few others, always had a bit of a soft spot for the more original, sometimes rough around the edges charm of the old park. Especially Burg Falkenstein, with its medieval castle theme, had a very special atmosphere. So for us, it wasn't easy to accept that we were losing another classic dark ride and replacing it with what we often perceive as a more plastic IP style. That's why we went into this experience with mixed feelings. But what really surprised us right away was this. Apart from the Smurfs sign above the entrance, we basically felt like we were standing in our old Burg Falkenstein again. The castle is still there, and honestly, that's something we think many longtime fans will really appreciate. Instead of completely tearing everything down, they've kept parts of the park's identity alive. Even more surprising, in the queue line, almost nothing has changed. There is one small scene that introduces the Smurfs theme, but overall it still feels very much like the old Falkenstein queue. And that left us with a bit of a question for you. Would you have preferred more Smurf theming here? Or do you actually like that this part still feels so nostalgic? Moving into the station, things start to shift slightly. But even here, there are still strong Falkenstein vibes. You'll notice a large chandelier above you, and of course, the classic Omni-Mover system, which we always love in dark rides. It's one of the best ride systems out there for capacity. Since you're constantly boarding moving vehicles, operations are super efficient. On our visit, we were able to ride multiple times with almost no waiting. Then, going into the ride itself, our expectations were honestly quite low. We managed to avoid spoilers, but based on modern trends, we expected a heavily screen-based, possibly interactive dark ride, something that usually isn't really our thing. We tend to prefer classic dark rides with physical sets and animatronics. And this is really where Plopsa genuinely surprised us. Instead of relying heavily on screens, this ride focuses on practical scenes and animatronics. Yes, there are some media elements, but they are used sparingly and often quite well integrated. Even better, the ride is not interactive. So instead of shooting at screens or competing for points, you can simply sit back and enjoy the experience. And once we managed to let go of our nostalgia for Burg Falkenstein and accept the new visual style, we had to admit, this is actually really fun and well executed, and fits so much better into the current park concept. What impressed us the most is how much effort and care went into this attraction. There are great lighting effects, subtle scent elements, and even overhead theming like leaf canopies and detailed ceilings, something that even major parks sometimes struggle with. It really helps to hide that typical warehouse feel and creates a much more immersive environment. Yes, you still move from scene to scene and there are darker transition sections, but overall, it's a very cohesive experience. We've also heard from many people that this is currently considered the best dark ride Plopsa has ever built. And honestly, we can see why. But what about the story? Well, the story is simple but effective. You travel through the castle of Gargamel, who has enchanted the plant world. These plants turn hostile and start attacking the Smurfs until everything is resolved with an antidote in the final scene. It's creative, easy to follow and works well within the ride format. Like any good dark ride, the exit leads you straight into a gift shop filled with Smurfs merchandise. The castle itself also still hosts a preview center showcasing upcoming developments in the park, like the recently opened coaster 100% Wolf and future plans such as a water park. So, what's our overall conclusion? We were genuinely positively surprised. Yes, it's different, and yes, if you're deeply attached to the old holiday park, it takes a moment to adjust. But once you let go of that nostalgia, you have to admit this ride fits the current Plopsa direction much better. At the same time, it still preserves part of the past, especially through the retained castle structure and those initial nostalgic impressions. And most importantly, it supports what this park needs to be, a family destination. Dark rides like this are essential because they bring everyone together, from kids to adults. Since this is now the only dark ride in the park, it naturally raises a question. Do you think the park needs more dark rides? For us, honestly, not necessarily right now. We'd actually love to see things like a flying theater or a high quality indoor show or even a proper table service restaurant. Something that allows guests to spend more time relaxing and enjoying the atmosphere together. But of course, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What would you like to see next at Plopsaland Deutschland? If you liked that video, make sure to like, subscribe and hit the bell to never miss one of our upcoming videos. And now, let's find the next world to get lost in.